I wasn't taking a picture of myself at all. Not one bit.
Hexus is over here taking selfies.
I'm doing selfies.
He's all...
Well, hey, it's been a minute. It's been a little while since we possessed these humans. Humans!
Ow. That hurt.
It's just like Cuba. Whenever you pronounce Cuba, you have to pronounce it Cuba!
Hi, Mikey.
Hey, guys. What's
Hey,
going
Calvin. Hello,
What is up?
Stephen P. Kitty Cat.
What is up? What is up?
Thank you, Mikey. Go listen to Mikey, guys.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone, please.
Hey, Natalie.
Natalie!
Hello.
All right.
All right.
All right.
My eyebrows are getting smaller.
Huh?
A cough fucked up my eyebrows.
Achoo. No, that's me.
Son of a sneeze.
Did you just say Abe Lincoln? No, I said, hey, Blinken.
This ain't exactly the Mississippi.
I'm on one side.
I'm on
the other side.
I'm on
the
east
east side.
side.
I'm on the west side. I love Mel Brooks. He's probably like my absolute favorite.
Guess what we're watching tonight?
Yes.
You know, other than random horror movies. I think we need a little bit more Freddy Krueger in our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is everyone's spooky season going?
It's Halloween, guys. It's here. Yep.
All right.
Ha-ha.
There we go.
So
tonight...
we're talking about Albert... what we're going to call him?
What did you call him? Ablert?
Albert Fisk. We're talking about Albert Fisk.
We're talking about Ablert.
No, we're talking about Albert Fish tonight. And this guy is the original American Boogeyman. Absolutely the original American Boogeyman. Because that's what he did.
His name is actually Hamilton Fish, by the way, which I don't know why it cracks me up more.
He got made fun of, and he changed his name to Albert Fish.
I think I would have stuck with Hamilton.
I don't know. No, I think they called him like Ham something, Hammy or something like that. And he didn't.
Well, his name was Hamilton Howard, okay?
Yeah, I know, right?
HHF. Okay, so we are going to be talking about Albert Fish, as we said. And you were pulling off my cape.
Just pulling off the clothes over here, guys. We're just going to get into
it. Albert was worse than any fish in the sea.
You know, actually, we'll get into this with Albert Fish, but Albert Fish is famous for being a masochist and a sadist. More so on a masochist side, too. And in his career, he actually might have been flogging himself because...
self-flagellation. We'll go back into that.
We'll get back into it, but because of his guilt.
So...
I'm not saying he's doing that by any
Calvin
means.
watched Men in Tights earlier.
We're men in tights.
I just like how they keep having to turn Blinken around. We're men, manly men.
Oh no, the part where he actually like goes crazy with the sword. He's and he just like it's just a wooden post.
I still like we're men, manly men. Tights. Yes.
Hey, how's my seam? Perfect every time.
We may look like pansies. Mark, what's up?
What's going on, Mark? You want to see some more pictures of Rasputin? I'm kidding, Mark. I'm kidding. I'm
Dear
kidding.
God. He's all bye.
He's all, see you guys later. I'm done.
All right. So Hamilton Howard Fish, known as Albert Fish, was born May 19th, 1870, and he died January 16th, 1936. He was an American serial killer, child rapist, child murderer, and cannibal. So I guess I should probably do something we should do every damn time.
Yep.
1. Warning, the related content may be disturbing to some individuals. Viewer discretion is advised.
The video contains super awesomeness, really?
There we go. Well, we're here, so
I know,
of course. Right? And I guess I'll do this one just in case. Under the fair use laws, another author may make limited use of the original author's work without asking permission, pursuant to 17 U.S. Code 107. Certain uses of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, which includes multiple copies for the classroom use, scholarship,
Whoops, sorry.
or research is not an infringement of copyright. And he just made us echo.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that.
Mark! Anyone want some Albert fish sticks? You guys like fish sticks?
You like fish sticks?
You're a gay fish. Okay.
You like fish? You like sticks, right?
You like fish sticks?
I can never say it any other way now.
Fish
And
sticks?
I do like fish sticks.
You like fish sticks in your
I
mouth? All right, so he was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, and the Boogeyman. He once boasted that he had children in every state, and we mentioned this last time when we talked
He
about
did
him.
have a lot of kids, and actually, surprisingly, he was actually really good to his kids and never
He
abused
was
them in any way, shape, or
talking
form.
about he had children in every state that he killed.
I believe that, actually.
And it says at one time he stated that his number of victims was around 100.
That's very possible for the time because they only have him for the confession of the 6 that he killed. Hey, I'm actually trying to figure out how to pull off the Rasputin pumpkin sound. Oh, I actually said it. Oh.
Can you,
Mark, if you do it, you have to send me pics.
just put a hat on it and make it do the Russian dance. Like put little legs underneath it.
Ra ra Rasputa.
Ra ra Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen.
What did Mikey say real fast?
And that's how we get muted right there.
I know, right? Horns locking. We're just gonna lock horns tonight.
That's right. If you're easily offended, faint of heart, sensitive, please get out right now.
Hey, Ange.
What's up, Ange? How are you?
What's going on? How are you doing?
Richard! Which Richard's in here? I'm assuming Nettle.
I'm pretty sure it's Nettle.
Nettleton.
Nettleton.
Nettleton. I always forget that last part. Sorry,
Yeah.
Richard. All right. So, yeah, he boasted that he had murdered a child in every state. And it's not known whether he was referring to rapes, cannibalism,
Well,
or
he was
how
more,
truthful really it was.
He was more of a famous child molester than he was a famous murderer. He killed people. He did a few.
I want to say the
But-
total he was charged with was like 13, though.
The charged three confirmed victims,
Yeah.
but he was charged with like 13. I think it was actually I think he had 6 actually.
We'll get to that in a moment. I have it in the notes here. So, Fish was a suspect in at least 5 murders during his lifetime. He confessed to 3 that police were able to trace to being a known homicide.
Mm-hmm.
And he confessed to stabbing at least 2 other people. Fish was apprehended December 13th, 1934. And put on trial for the kidnapping and murder of Grace Budd. This is what got him caught. There's a whole extra part that we're going to get into with that too. He was convicted and executed by the electric chair on January 16th, 1936, at the age of 65. And there's actually a dramatization, basically, of his crimes in the movie The Gray Man.
Surprisingly, there has not been that many Albert Fish movies or killers.
That's what The Gray Man is about.
No,
him.
no, I know, but like there's someone someone as big of a heavy hitter that he is. There's not many movies based around him. I guess you could say Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger might be based on him slightly. So good, and
one fish, two fish, red fish, Albert Fish. All right, so his childhood. Albert Fish was born in Washington, D.C. on May 19th, 1870, to Randall and Ellen Fish. In case you guys didn't catch the name, Ellen Fish. Fish's father was American of English ancestry, and his mother was Scot-Irish American. His father was 43 years old.
That's where the
older
came from, was her.
His father was 43 years older than his mother, and 75 years old at the time of Albert's birth. Fish was the youngest child and had 3 living siblings, Walter, Annie, and Edwin. He wished to be known as Albert after a dead sibling and to escape the nickname Ham and Eggs.
That's what it was.
And he was given at an orphanage in which he spent a lot of his time as a child.
Well, the orphanage is where he learned to like masochism and related punishment and everything to sex.
Oh God, my leg's asleep.
Of how bad the nuns were to him.
So Mikey says, so when the police were looking for him, did they call it fishing?
I think they did. I would dare say they did, actually.
I would have. So, as we stated, actually, when we talked about him a couple weeks ago.
No, it was last week.
Was it last week? God, everything just.
I want to say together. It was Sunday.
Well, as we stated when we mentioned him, we only mentioned a little bit about him, but his father died early on in his life, and his whole family actually had a history of mental illness. His uncle suffered from mania. One of his brothers was confined in a state mental hospital. His sister Annie was diagnosed with a mental affliction. 3 other relatives were diagnosed with mental illnesses, and his mother had oral and or visual hallucinations. And oral, not like verbal, but like auras.
Well, was it?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought it was like audio hallucinations.
No, not audio. Oral, like auras.
Yeah.
So, Fish's father, Randall, was a riverboat captain, and by 1870, a fertilizer manufacturer.
He was a riverboat captain to the day he died, though.
The elder Fish died in 1875 at Washington's 6th Street station of a heart attack. The Congressional Cemetery records show that he died on October 16th, 1875, and was buried on October 19th. In grave R96-/89.
So if you want to go visit Albert Fish's father's grave,
you actually can.
There you go.
Fish's mother was then, or at that point, put her son into St. John's Orphanage in Washington, where he was frequently abused. Fish began to enjoy the physical pain, though.
It was actually almost immediately. It wasn't like just began. Like, it pretty much was like, I have an erection.
Yeah.
I got spanked.
Ooh.
I'm watching other people get spanked. I enjoy this.
So, of his time at the orphanage, he remarked, I was there till I was early 9, and that's where I got started wrong. We were unmercifully whipped. I saw boys doing many things they should not have done.
See, and the thing with Albert Fish, too, is deeply religious. Like, deeply, deeply religious. And all this is just kind of coming together, you know. It actually was almost like the perfect mix for being a serial killer. The known mental illness that ran in his family. Then going to this boys' home and being beaten by nuns. And then getting off on other people being beaten. So everything was just came together.
So, by 1880, Fish's mom had a government job and was able to remove Fish from the orphanage. In 1882, at the age of 12, he began a relationship with a telegraph boy. The young boy introduced Fish to such practices as urolagnia. It's so hard to say.
You can just tell you what it is.
Drinking urine.
Yeah.
And chorophagia.
And poo-poo.
Eating poop. And if you've ever watched Rick and Morty, you'll know chorophagia. How long have you guys been eating poop? We have literally never eaten poop.
Me neither.
Yeah, where's my family? Fish began visiting public baths where he could watch other boys undress and spent a great portion of his weekends with these people.
It was mostly the YMCA, actually. It was where he went.
Well,
the YMCA,
throughout his life, he would write obscene letters to women whose names he acquired from classified ads and matrimonial agencies.
Well, you have to understand when he was doing this was actually the Great Depression era, so there was a lot of ads for women who needed basically to find a man or whatnot to marry into and then be taken care of. So he would go on there and he was the original troll. And he would send very bad messages to these ladies. Like really messed up messages. In fact, I think maybe part 2 we can find some of the messages and read them on away from Facebook. So
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So 1890 to 1918, early adulthood and criminal history. By 1890, at the age of 20, Fish arrived in New York City and said that at that point is when he became a prostitute and began raping young boys.
Yeah. He just said it. That's exactly what he did.
I guess it was fun for him to stay at the YMCA.
But that was actually part of the course.
Apparently.
For
he was a vicious fish.
He actually very much was a vicious fish.
He was a very vicious
But this
fish.
was like part of the course for the time. If you were out on your own like that, it seemed like crime was just rampant for you.
Well, yeah.
Being a deviant, was very, very rampant. And I'm not, saying with the whole prostitution thing, but the rapes and all this other stuff. It was just kill or be killed for them. Mm-hmm. And I'm not condoning what he did. I'm just saying.
So in 1898, his mother arranged a marriage for him with Anna Mary Hoffman, who was 9 years his junior. They had 6 children: Albert, Anna, Gertrude, Eugene, John, and Henry Fish. Throughout 1898, Fish worked as a house painter. He said he continued to molest children, mostly boys younger than the age of 6. He later recounted in an incident in which a male lover took him to a waxworks museum where Fish was fascinated by a bisection of a penis. After that, he became obsessed with sexual mutilation.
Yep.
In 1903, he was arrested for grand larceny, convicted, and incarcerated in Sing Sing.
Now, I think this is the lady that was actually with him, and then left him for their.
There's that name, Gertrude.
Gwendolyn. One of the most evil names of ever. There's our Family Guy reference.
Well, also, we do have a Gwendolyn in our midst.
Who?
Steve the cat. There's a Gwendolyn.
Oh, okay. No, but this is they're actually saying even though he was doing some molesting and all that stuff, but when she left, and left him with all the children and all that stuff, that's where he kind of like really snapped.
Yeah. I want to show you guys a picture.
Oh, this is an actual picture of. You want to scroll down?
I was like, where did that go? Let's not put that in the corner.
Did you downloads? There it goes.
It's right there. I know where I put it. Okay, you might have to squint a little bit.
That is Albert Fish's. Okay,
that's an X-ray of his.
What Albert Fish would do.
Hold on, this is an X-ray of his pelvis and his perineum. If you guys don't know what a perineum is, there's a commercial right now for a, I want to say diabetes medicine that causes apparently infections of the perineum. It's the taint, guys. It's the taint.
And you can see right there, he shoved needles into himself a lot. So much so that they got lost in him. So much so that when they arrested him from the final time and they took these x-rays of him and everything like that, they some of them were just so you can see kind of like the shadowy spots, the ghost spots, the shadowy spots right there. That's where the needles were actually broke down so much where they couldn't pull them out. Yeah.
I don't like needles, guys.
Oh, he loved He asked, that was his thing, was the needles was the main thing. It was like shoving himself
Yummy
really.
pizza.
Yummy, yummy. Right.
So, around 1910, while he was working in Wilmington, Delaware, Fish met a 19-year-old man named Thomas Kedden. He took Kedden to where he was staying, and the two began a sadomasochistic relationship. It's unclear whether or not Fish forced Kedden to do these things, but in his confession, he implies that the man was intellectually disabled.
You know, it is more along the lines that he manipulated him into it, but it went on for about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know what we're going to get to right now. If you want to go ahead and... They got into all sorts of things from... they started off with just regular role play. Then they went into drinking and eating each other's waste.
Well, yeah.
And then... Here you go.
Hold on. I was like, wait a second. So after 10 days, Fish took Kedden to an old farm. This is in quotes. An old farmhouse where he began to torture him. The torture took place over 2 weeks. Fish eventually tied Kedden up and cut off half of his penis. He said, I shall never forget his scream or the look he gave me. Fish later recalled. He originally intended to kill him and cut up his body and take it home. But he feared the hot weather would draw attention to him. Instead, Fish poured peroxide over the wound, wrapped it in a Vaseline-covered handkerchief, left a $10 bill, and kissed Kedden goodbye, and left.
They didn't actually... first of all, he didn't exactly cut off half of it. He cut into it.
He bisected it.
He didn't exactly bisect it. He started to cut into it with scissors, and it cut into it, and then that's... And one thing they're actually leaving out here, it was his...
Sorry, look.
It was his screams that actually... This is the first time he ever did anything like this to another person. It was his screams, along with the weather and all that stuff, that actually made him stop and let him go. And mind you, $10 right at that time, I think, is like almost like $300 now. So
yeah, I'm not sure what the inflation is on that, to be honest. So he said, I took the train, first train I could get back home, never heard what became of him or tried to find out.
Yep.
In January 1917, Fish's wife left him for John Straub, a handyman who boarded with the Fish family. Fish then had to raise his children as a single parent. After his arrest, Fish told a newspaper that when his wife left him, she took nearly every possession the family owned. He began to have auditory hallucinations.
Mm-hmm. This was the stress that really caused it.
Once wrapped himself in a carpet, saying that he was following the instructions of John the Apostle.
His daughter walked in on him.
Wrapped like a burrito.
Then walked away and left him to his own. You just lay there all you want.
I would have been like, huh. All right, bye now.
Again, let's bring this up real fast. This is also he was exceptionally good to his children, aside from the little weird things he would do here and there. He never... This was a time where it was legal for you to practically beat your kids.
Didn't lay a hand on them.
Didn't lay a hand on them, and actually gave them everything they needed. And actually, he actually cared for his own kids. But aside, like, they would walk in on him doing weird shit like this, or flogging himself every now and then.
Flagellation, and yeah. So it was about this time that Fish began to indulge in self-harm. He would embed needles into his groin and abdomen. After his arrest, the x-rays that we showed you showed at least 29 needles lodged in his pelvic region. Mm-hmm. He also hit himself repeatedly with a nail-studded paddle and inserted wool doused with lighter fluid into his anus and set it on fire.
A lot.
While Fish was never thought to have physically attacked or abused his children, he did encourage them and their friends to paddle his butt with the same nail-studded paddle he used to abuse himself. Yeah. He soon developed a growing obsession with cannibalism, often preparing himself a dinner consisting solely of raw meat and sometimes serving it to his children.
I don't think he ever. Honestly, I think that part of the notes are actually wrong.
That's probably wrong, but we're not sure.
The cannibalism he kind of did aside from his kids.
Well, anyway, 1919 and 1930, the escalation. In about 1919, Fish stabbed an intellectually disabled boy in Georgetown, Washington, D.C. He chose people who were either mentally handicapped, or he also chose African-American boys as his victims, explaining that he assumed these people would not be missed when they were killed.
He was a victimizer.
Yeah.
When it came down to it, he knew his victims and he knew how to go after them.
Well, Fish would later claim to have occasionally paid boys to procure other children for him. Fish tortured, mutilated, and murdered young children with his implements of hell. That would be a meat cleaver, a butcher's knife, and a small handsaw. Hi, Joshua.
Hey, Joshua.
Woot woot. So, on July 11th, 1924, Fish found 8-year-old Bernice Keel playing alone on her parents' farm in Staten Island, New York. He offered her money to come and help him look for rhubarb. She was about to leave the farm when her mother chased Fish away. Fish left, but returned later to the Keel's barn where he tried to sleep, but was discovered by Beatrice's father and forced to leave. 3 days later, Fish killed Francis McDonnell, also on Staten Island. During 1924, the 54-year-old Fish suffered from psychosis, felt that God was commanding him to torture and sexually mutilate children.
He took the whole...
Son of Sam.
No, the Abel and not Cain and Abel. What's the one who's Abraham? He had to offer his son up to God. At the last moment, God stopped him from killing the kid.
I killed the fly.
Yes. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
yes.
That's the
Abraham and Isaac.
He's basically twisting that story into everything that he's doing right now.
Yeah. So where did this go?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Shortly before his abduction of Grace Budd, Fish attempted to test his implements of hell on a child he had been molesting named Cyril Quinn. Quinn and his friend were playing box ball on the sidewalk when Fish asked them if they had eaten lunch. When they said that they had not, he invited them into his apartment for sandwiches. While the two boys were wrestling on Fish's bed, they dislodged his mattress. Underneath was a knife, a small handsaw, and a meat cleaver. They became frightened and ran out of the apartment. Now we're going to talk about bigamy. So bigamy is being married to multiple people at once.
Yes.
Fish remarried on February 6, 1930 in Waterloo, New York to Estella Wilcox, but divorced after only 1 week. Fish was arrested in May of 1930 for sending an obscene letter to a woman who answered an advertisement for a maid. Following that arrest, and one in 1931, he was sent to the Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital for observation.
This marriage right here was actually something special for him because he was very evil, Natalie. And that marriage, he didn't even wait for the weird shit. It was immediate. That's where you're talking about the paddling and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. Her kids, it was a Buck What's Up or something like that, and he had a couple different games, and basically just revolved around punishing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it started right away, and then the woman was smart, saying, "Nah, we're done. We're good here. We're not doing this."
So now we're gonna get into basically the main thing that got him caught: the murder of Grace Budd. On May 25th, 1928, Fish saw a classified advertisement in the Sunday edition of the New York World that read, "Young man 18 wishes position in country. Edward Budd, 406 West 15th Street." On May 28th, Fish, then 58 years old, visited the Budd family in Manhattan under the pretense of hiring Edward. He later confessed that he planned to tie Edward up, mutilate him, and leave him to bleed to death. Fish introduced himself as Frank Howard, a farmer from Farmingdale in New York. I can't believe that's a real place. That just sounds like it was completely made up. Who are you? I'm Frank.
I'm a farmer.
I'm a farmer. Where are you from? Farmingdale?
Farmington of farms. Yeah, it's a long one, but I'm told it's totally legit. I'm not here to
Ulrich von Lichtenstein.
I'm not here to murder your children or eat them in any way, shape, or form. I'm here. Look, I have $2,000 right now on me of cash at the time. Yeah. He actually did. He had about
he promised to hire Bud and his friend Willie.
The one thing about Fish is that he during the Depression, he was one of the few people who was actually able to get work constantly because he was a painter and everything, and he always had a lot of money on him. Always. His children never went without. There you go.
So he had promised to hire Bud and his friend Willie, and said he would send for them in a few days. Fish failed to show up, but did send a telegram to the Bud family apologizing and set a later date.
My name is Mr. Fred
Tenson. I'm a farmer.
I'm a farmer.
From Farmingdale.
Farmington. Oh, look, I dropped this wad of cash. Hi, we're in the Depression.
So when Fish returned, he met Edward's younger sister, Grace. He apparently changed his intended victim from Edward to Grace and quickly made up a story about having to attend his niece's birthday party. He convinced the parents, Delia Flanagan and Albert Budd, to let Grace accompany him to the party that evening. The elder Albert Budd was a porter from the United States Equitable Life Assurance Society. Huh. Grace had a younger sister, Beatrice, 2 older brothers, Edward and George, and a younger brother, Albert Budd II. Grace left with Fish that day and never returned. The police arrested 66-year-old Superintendent Charles Edward Pope on September 5th of 1930 as a suspect in Grace's disappearance. Accused by Pope's estranged wife, he spent 180 days in jail between his arrest... 108 days in jail between his arrest and trial on December 22nd, 1930. He was found not guilty.
Now, are we going to get into... Do we just... what he did to this girl... this is actually pretty.
Sorry,
bad.
I was laughing at what
because they didn't actually get into what he did to the girl because he did actually. Are we about to?
Well, yes, we are.
It's brutal.
I'm going to be reading something.
So, and mind you, this was 6 years before he was captured.
Well, so
6 or 7 years.
I'm going to when we get back from break, I'm going to read the letter to the mother of Grace Budd.
It's not nice.
So.
Let's go ahead and play our.
We're going to play an ad and we'll be right back.
This is Mikey from Out of the Ordinary, and you're watching PBDC TV.
morning, when I'm listening to music and getting a little bit of time for some creepy research, I'm always representing with my PBDC merch. What a better way to have a cup of coffee in the morning.
Don't forget to check out our other cool merch at rootsbleedred.com. That's rootsbleedred.com.
This is Professor Edgar Fluffosaurus from Spooky Tales with Steve the Cat, and when I'm not hosting Monster Chat or knocking down small Japanese cities, I'm watching PBDC TV. Now back to the show.
Hey!
Hi, Dustin!
Hi, Dustin!
And welcome back, Ange.
Hi, Ange. Welcome back. Remember Welcome Back, Carter?
Yeah. Cotter.
There you go. Haha.
All right. So now we're about to get into some really brutal stuff. So I'm going to put up a trigger warning.
One thing actually we need to say too, we're fast yet. Trigger warning, explicit content error. He actually, Albert Fish, was very articulate.
Yeah.
In his letters and stuff like that, he was very, very articulate. So, really graphic.
In November 1934, an anonymous letter was sent to Grace's parents, which ultimately led the police to Fish. Mrs. Budd was illiterate and could not read the letter for herself, so she had her son read it to her. The unaltered letter, complete with Fish's misspellings and grammatical errors, read, "My dear Mrs. Budd, in 1894, a friend of mine shipped as a deckhand on the steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davis. They sailed from San Francisco to Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he and 2 others went ashore and got drunk. When they returned, the boat was gone. At that time, there was a famine in China. Meat of any kind was from $1 to $3 a pound." I wish.
$1 to $3 a pound,
which is a lot.
It's probably the equivalent to about $100 to. I mean, let's say 30 to 60 bucks a pound. Right
Hi,
now.
Jeff.
Hi, Jeff. What's going on?
Just don't mention the purple dinosaur.
Yeah.
If you guys ever get the chance, look up Barney Hit 'Em Up.
That's really good.
Literally one of my favorite
It's
things
hilarious.
ever. It's been on the internet forever.
Don't kill a bug on my screen.
I wiped it off. Okay, so we're going to continue this. So great was the suffering among the very poor that all children under 12 were sold to the butchers to be cut up and sold for food in order to keep others from starving. A boy or a girl under 14 was not safe in the street. You could go in any shop and ask for steak, chops, or stew meat. Part of the naked body of a boy or a girl would be brought out and just what you wanted cut from it. A boy or girl's behind, which is the sweetest part of the body, and sold as a veal cutlet, would bring the highest price. John stayed there so long, he acquired a taste for human flesh. On his return to New York, he stole 2 boys, one 7 and one 11. Took them to his home, stripped them naked, tied them in a closet, then burned everything they had on. Several times every day night he spanked them, tortured them to make their meat good and tender. First he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass and of course the most meat on it. Every part of his body was cooked and eaten except his head, bones, and guts. He was roasted in the oven, all of his ass, boiled, broiled, fried, stewed. The little boy was next, went the same way. At that time, he was living at 409 East 100th Street, rear right side. He told me so often how good human flesh was, I made up my mind to taste it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called on you at 406 West 15th Street. Brought you a pot cheese and strawberries.
It's like fondue and stuff like that.
Yeah. We had lunch. Grace sat in my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her, on the pretense of taking her to a party. You said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester that I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would get her blood on them. When I was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid in a closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and tried to run downstairs. I grabbed her, and she said she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death, then cut her in small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook, and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her, though. I could have had I wished. She died a virgin.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah.
Hi, Jamie.
Please. Chief, we caught a fish. What kind of fish? Albert fish, Chief.
An Albert fish.
Hi, we're doing really well. Thank you. Hi, Jamie.
Hello.
Damn antlers. Imagine making tacos out of Albert. You'd get fish tacos, but
You would.
Good one, Mikey. All right, so his capture. The letter was delivered in an envelope that had a small hexagonal emblem with the letters NYPCBA, representing New York Private Chauffeurs Benevolent Association. A janitor at the company told the police he had taken some of the stationery home, but left it at his rooming house at 200 East 52nd Street when he moved out. The landlady of the rooming house said that Fish checked out of the room a few days later. She said that Fish's son sent him money, and he asked her to hold his next check for him. William F. King was the chief investigator on the case. He waited outside the room until Fish returned. Fish agreed to go to headquarters for questioning, then brandished a razor blade. King disarmed Fish and took him to the police headquarters. Fish made no attempts to deny the murder of Grace Budd, saying that he meant to go to the house to kill Grace's brother, Edward. Fish said it never even entered his mind to rape the girl, but he later claimed to his attorney that while kneeling on Grace's chest and strangling her, he did have 2 involuntary ejaculations. So I guess it did kind of...
Well, involuntary doesn't mean...
I know.
Supposedly, though, this is actually where Fish was flogging himself for 6 years. He didn't kill anybody for those 6 years. He continued his molestations and all that stuff. But he didn't kill anybody until when he was caught. He didn't kill anybody at all, and then he got caught.
Yeah.
Now, the flagellation and that and his children heard him call out her name throughout the years in his sleep. And
I know Halloween is here.
His intended victim was never a girl. He wanted to get the boys. But I think that's where he left, came back again, and realized that the 2 boys would be harder to get than the 1 girl. And that was the only time he really let go and actually went after a girl. Yeah.
So, this information was used at trial to make the claim the kidnapping was sexually motivated, thus avoiding any mention of cannibalism. Other crimes discovered after Fish's arrest. Francis McDonald, during the night of July 14th, 1924, 9-year-old Francis McDonald was reported missing by his parents. He failed to return home after playing catch with his friends in Port Richmond, neighborhood of Staten Island. A search was organized, and his body was found hanging from a tree in a wooded area near his home. He had been sexually assaulted and strangled with his own suspenders. According to his autopsy, McDonald had also suffered extensive lacerations to his legs, abdomen, and his left hamstring had almost been entirely stripped of its flesh. Fish refused to claim responsibility for this, although he later stated that he intended to castrate the boy, but fled when he heard someone approaching the area. McDonald's friends told the police that he was taken by an elderly man with a gray mustache. A neighbor also told the police he observed the boy with a similar looking man walking along a grassy path into the nearby woods. Francis's mother, Anna McDonald, said she saw the same man earlier that day. She told the reporters he came shuffling down the street, mumbling to himself and making queer motions with his hands.
It's what he was doing was he had a nervous habit of going like this. Mm-hmm. And he would walk down the street going like this.
So she said, I saw his thick gray hair and his drooping gray mustache. Everything about him seemed faded and gray.
He was the gray man.
This description resulted in the mysterious stranger becoming known as the Gray Man. The McDonald murder remained unsolved until the murder of Grace Budd, when several eyewitnesses among the Staten Island farmer Hans Keel positively identified Albert Fish as the odd stranger seen around Port Richmond on the day of McDonald's disappearance. Richmond County District Attorney Thomas J. Walsh announced his intention to seek an indictment against Fish for the boy's murder. At first, Fish denied the charges. It was only in March of 1935, after the conclusion of his trial for the Budd murder, that he confessed to killing Billy Gaffney. And Fish confirmed to the investigators he also raped and murdered McDonald. So now we're going to talk about Billy Gaffney. Yes, I know, I'm so excited.
Yep.
I can't wait. We might actually go live. Well, we are going to go live.
Yeah, we are going live. There's stuff going on Halloween, so we'll get that in a minute.
So, Billy Gaffney, on February 11th, 1927, 3-year-old Billy Beaton and his 12-year-old brother were playing at the apartment hallway in Brooklyn with 4-year-old Billy Gaffney. When the 12-year-old left for his apartment, both younger boys disappeared. Beaton was found later on the roof of the apartments. When asked what happened to Gaffney, Beaton said the boogeyman took him. Mm-hmm. Gaffney's body was never discovered.
This actually, I think, was the first. He does describe this later on. This was the first time he tried cannibalism. It wasn't the girl was not the first time, and he actually described everything. And in another letter, which is more graphic than the other letter, described everything he did to this boy, everything, and everything he ate.
So initially, serial killer Peter Kudzanowski was a suspect for the boy's murder. Then Joseph Meehan, a motorman on a Brooklyn trolley, saw a picture of Fish in the newspaper and identified him as the old man whom he saw February 11th, 1927. The old man had been trying to quiet a little boy sitting with him on the trolley. The boy was not wearing a jacket and was crying for his mother and was dragged by the man off the trolley. Beaton's description of the boogeyman matched Fish. Police matched the description of the child to Gaffney. Detectives of the Manhattan Missing Persons Bureau were able to establish that Fish was employed as a house painter by a Brooklyn real estate company during February of 1927. And that on the day of Gaffney's disappearance, he was working at a location a few miles from where the boy was abducted. Fish claimed the following in a letter to his attorney. Why is it doing that?
I don't know. It's everything on Word right now.
I brought him to the Riker Avenue dumps. There is a house that stands alone, not far from where I took him. I took the G-boy there, stripped him naked, tied his hands and feet, and gagged him with a piece of dirty rag I picked up at the dump. Then I burned his clothes, threw his shoes in the dump.
Ooh,
then I walked.
Boy,
This
is the boy that he actually.
Then I walked back and took trolley 59 to 59th Street at 2 a.m. and walked home from there. Next day, about 2 p.m., I took tools and a good heavy cat o' nine tails, homemade, short handle, cut one of my belts in half, slit these halves in 6 strips about 8 inches long. I whipped his bare behind till the blood ran from his legs. I cut off his ears, his nose, slit his mouth from ear to ear, gouged his eyes. He was dead then. I stuck the knife in his belly and held my mouth to his body and drank his blood. I picked up 4 old potato sacks and gathered a pile of stones. Then I cut him up. I had a grip with me. I put his nose, ears, and a few slices of his belly in the grip. And then I cut him in the middle of his body, just below his belly button. Then through his legs about 2 inches below his behind. This is horrible, guys.
Yeah.
Just letting you know, this is absolutely horrible.
I was going to say maybe we should get into this like on the second episode into the
There's
letters.
not going to be a second episode.
Okay, sorry.
Look, we're almost done.
I know we're almost done, but the letters could actually be on the second.
I put this in my grip with a lot of paper. I cut off the head, feet, arms, hands, and the legs below the knee. This I put in sacks weighed with stones, tied the ends, threw them into the pools of slimy water you will see along the road going to North Beach. Water is 3 to 4 feet deep. They sink at once. I came home with my meat. I had the front of his body I liked best.
This part, you want to read that?
I don't know if I want to read that.
You might as well read it.
His monkey and peewees and a nice little fat behind to roast in the oven and eat. I made a stew out of his ears, nose, and pieces of his face and belly. I put onions, carrots, turnips, celery, salt, and pepper. It was good. Then I split the cheeks of his behind open and cut off his monkey and peewees and washed them first. I put strips of bacon on each cheek of his behind and put them in the oven. Then I picked 4 onions, and when the meat had roasted about a quarter of an hour, I poured about a pint of water over it for gravy and put in the onions. At frequent intervals, I basted his behind with a wooden spoon, so the meat would be nice and juicy. In about 2 hours, it was nice and brown and cooked through. I never ate any roast turkey that tasted half as good as his sweet, fat little behind. I ate every bit of the meat for about 4 days. His little monkey was sweet as a nut, but his peewees could not chew. I threw them in the toilet.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah,
it's
sorry, Ange.
It's a brutal one. He was very matter of fact with that. It was literally written almost like a cooking guide. Like, here, do this with this, and this, you know.
Well, so Gaffney's mother, Elizabeth, visited Fish in Sing Sing, accompanied by Detective King and 2 other men. She wanted to ask him about her son's death, but Fish refused to speak to her. Fish began to weep and asked to be left alone. After 2 hours of asking him questions through his lawyer, James Dempsey, Mrs. Gaffney gave up. She's still unconvinced that Fish was her son's killer.
It more than likely was him.
Volkswagen-sized pineapples.
Yes.
So, Adam, you just dropped in, so you didn't know, but we're talking about Albert Fish, and he was talking about eating a 4-year-old boy.
Yeah.
It was bad. That was a letter he actually wrote that I read.
That was among several letters, and you could find all of his letters.
Oh, yeah. So, trial and execution. We might go a couple minutes over, but not much.
Well, the thing with let's get into the execution real fast. He was actually very indifferent to the execution. He didn't care. It was just a new, being that it caused pain. It was just a new experience for him, and he was actually, I guess he was not exactly indifferent to it, but he was actually more excited about it. Actually, he does say that he's excited about it.
Remember when I said Ulrich von Liechtenstein?
Yeah.
Perry Liechtenstein. No joke. Okay, so Albert Fish's trial for the murder of Grace Budd began on March 11th, 1935 in White Plains, New York. Frederick P. Close presided as judge, and Westchester County Chief Assistant District Attorney Elbert F. Gallagher. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, was prosecuting attorney. Fish's defense counsel was James Dempsey, a former prosecutor and the one-time mayor of Peekskill, New York. The trial lasted 10 days. Fish pled insanity and claimed to have heard voices from God telling him to kill children. Several psychiatrists testified about Fish's sexual fetishes, which included sadism, masochism, flagellation, exhibitionism, voyeurism, piquerism, cannibalism, chorophagia, urophilia, hematolagnia. Thank
With
you.
the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drinking blood.
Yeah.
Pedophilia, necrophilia, and infibulation.
So he literally hit all the deviant scale.
Yep.
He hit every button on the deviant button hitter.
Dempsey, in his summation, noted that Fish was a psychiatric phenomenon and that nowhere in legal or medical records was there another individual who possessed as many sexual abnormalities. The defense's chief expert witness was Frederick Wertham, a psychiatrist with an emphasis on child development who conducted psychiatric examinations for the New York criminal courts. During 2 days of testimony, he explained Fish's obsession with religion and specifically his preoccupation with the biblical story of Abraham and Isaac. He said that Fish believed that similarly sacrificing a boy would be penance for his own sins, that even if the act itself was wrong, angels would prevent it if God didn't approve.
Yeah.
Fish attempted to sacrifice once before, but was thwarted when a car drove past. Edward Budd was the next intended victim, but turned out to be larger than expected, so he settled on Grace. Although he knew Grace was female, it is believed that Fish perceived her as a boy. It was then detailed that Fish's cannibalism, which in his mind he associated with communion. The last question Dempsey asked Frederick Wertham was 15,000 words long. Detailed Fish's life, ended with asking how the doctor considered his mental condition based on his life. Wertham simply answered, "He is insane." Gallagher cross-examined Wertham on whether Fish knew the difference between right and wrong. He responded that he did know, but it was a perverted knowledge based on his opinions of sin, atonement, and religion, and thus was an insane knowledge.
If you make an attempt to hide body parts or do whatever you're going to do with it, you do know that what you're doing is wrong. If he just did his acts out in the middle of nowhere or out in the middle of public and then left bodies wherever they were, then he was insane.
The defense called 2 more psychiatrists to support the findings. Let's see. Okay, we're almost done. The first of 4 rebuttal witnesses was Menace Gregory, the former manager of the Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital, where Fish was treated during the 30s. He testified that Fish was abnormal but sane. Under cross-examination, Dempsey asked if chorophilia and urophilia and pedophilia indicated a sane person. Gregory replied that such a person was not mentally sick and that these were common perversions and were socially perfectly all right. Okay, that guy needed to be disbarred.
Yeah, exactly.
And that Fish was no different from millions of other people. Whew. Some very prominent and successful who suffered from the very same perversions. The next witness was the resident physician at the Tombs, Perry Lichtenstein. Dempsey objected to a doctor with no training in psychology testifying on the issue of sanity, but Justice Close overruled on the basis that the jury could decide what weight to give a prison doctor. When asked whether Fish's causing himself pain indicated a mental condition, Lichtenstein replied, "That is not masochism. He was only punishing himself to get sexual gratification."
It's still masochism.
The next witness, Charles Lambert, testified that chorophilia was a common practice and that religious cannibalism may be psychopathic, but was a matter of taste and not evidence of a psychosis.
Oh my God.
The last witness, James Vavasour, repeated Lambert's opinion. Another defense witness was Mary Nicholas, Fish's 17-year-old stepdaughter. She described how Fish taught her and her brothers and sisters several games involving overtones of masochism and child molestation. None of the jurors doubted that Fish was insane, but ultimately, as one later explained, they felt that he should be executed anyway. They found him sane and guilty, and the judge ordered the death sentence. Fish arrived at prison in March of 35 and was executed on January 16th, 1936, in the electric chair at Sing Sing. He entered the chamber at 11:06 p.m. and was pronounced dead 3 minutes later. He was buried in Sing Sing Prison Cemetery. Fish is said to have helped the executioner position the electrodes on his body.
He was happy to die.
His last words were, "I don't even know why I'm here." I'm sorry, that's messed up.
Yeah, I know.
According to one witness present, it took 2 jolts before he died, creating the rumor that the apparatus was short-circuited by the needles that were inserted in his body.
It could be possible.
These rumors were later regarded as untrue, as Fish reportedly died in the same fashion and time frame as others in the electric chair.
Yeah.
At a meeting with reporters after the execution, Fish's lawyer, James Dempsey, revealed that he was in possession of the client's final statement. This amounted to several pages of handwritten notes that Fish apparently penned in the hours prior to his death. When pressed by the assembled journalists to reveal the document's contents, Dempsey refused, stating, "I will never show it to anyone." It was the most filthy string of obscenities that I've ever read.
Wow. And that's it.
And that's it. Yeah, Fish is a very brutal subject.
It's a brutal subject, yes. Very much in that. He's yeah.
I sort of like how the juries thought, though. The jury thought, they were like, "Oh, he's obviously insane, but we need to kill him."
Now that you bring up, I hope it hurt him. That's the issue.
He liked it.
He loved pain. Absolutely loved it. And he loved causing himself pain. Honestly, if you really wanted to hurt him, you just got to be nice to him.
Yeah.
But
all right, guys. Those darn bunnies never showed up today.
no.
That's
didn't.
okay.
All right.
All right. Oh, just to show you one more time, this is him when he got arrested.
Yeah. I think that's a picture from last time, wasn't it? Or
Yep,
did you put that?
it is. All right, guys. So up next is going to be Sharon S. She's going to be at the Black Swan Inn, and she's going to be doing tarot readings and rune readings, as well as pendulum.
Now, Sunday we have Ghoul Radio with
Mr. Ghoul.
Mr. Ghoul.
And
Ghoul
this is going to
Radio,
be really fun.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
And that's why we're doing it on Halloween.
Favorites. War of the Worlds.
Yep.
It's going to be great. It's going to be about an hour long, but it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
And you might have us going live passing candy out to kids as us. Hexus and a call.
Tomorrow.
Or Hexus and...
Oh, no. Sam Sidewalker is going to be there.
So.
Tomorrow we're going to be doing some pumpkin carving.
Yes.
And like I said, stay tuned because Sharon S. is going to be on, and she is always spot on.
Yep.
Really.
All right, guys. We're out. See you later.
Alrighty. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
I know the world. I